What is up, wrestling fans? Welcome to episode number 715 of the Smark Moment Smack Talk Hot Tags of the Week. I'm your host, as always, Tony Mango, joined as always by Robert D. Felice.
Hello everyone, I'm Robert D. Felice, but I do want to say, 715 is a lot. How do you feel, Tony?
Tired, exhausted, frustrated, sad, a little hungry. We could go with like maybe like a shrimp po' boy sandwich would be really good right now. Anyway, Callum Wiggins as well. I don't want to get too distracted.
It's actually it's 8:50 for me today.
Oh, okay. So everybody skip forward a couple hundred episodes.
Oh, it just went 8:51. Great. Yeah.
Man, we're speed running these episodes.
Yeah.
We get to episode 1000. That'll be the big grand finale. We're getting to 1000. Yeah, right.
We're getting really close, actually.
So, of course, as you should know, after 715 episodes of this, if you were not brand new, these are the hot tags. This is the breakdown of everything that happened in the world of pro wrestling that happened in the past few days. We feel like talking about at the very least. Some of the stuff carrying over from last Friday when we recorded, but after we had recorded, some of the stuff brand new and some of the stuff just speculation and all. We're going to get into TV recap and rumors, news, gossip, scuttlebutt, all the scoops type stuff that we typically do. We always want to know what you have to say as well, so drop your thoughts in many different ways. If you are on our Discord channels, then there are a bunch of different side things there that'll all just have, WWE stuff, AEW stuff, whatever it might be. I mean, even if you want to chat it up, like right now we got a little discussion going on about Dexter on the movies and TV show thing. It's kind of Fanboys Anonymous related as well, so whether it's the Smark Out Moment or Fanboy stuff, head on over to Discord. It's a great place to chat it up, and also keep in mind Facebook, Twitter, wherever it is that you're on, smarkoutmoment.com, of course. You always have a comment section down below there. And if you are on YouTube, then make sure that you leave a comment there. And also hit the like button, subscribe, ring that notification bell, get your email alerts set up for the post shows for different things we do and other live content. And check out the thanks button. Toss a little spare change our way. Join button is a great way to do that too. $1 a month, $5 a month, whatever it might be. Recent Darkcast episode, you can only get access to if you are on the Darkcast tier. Pick Your Poison gets to have whatever it is that you want us to do, within reason, of course, that you can directly sponsor that way. Redbubble and TeePublic, but fuck Redbubble, is where you could get your merchandise, so keep those in mind too. And for the person who had complained and whined about the post-show of SummerSlam the one day where they said, oh my god, I got 2 minutes in and you're still giving plugs and saying hello to people in live chat, good lord, you can hit a fast-forward button.
Clearly,
Quite literally, we have plenty things that are lives where you can click on something and somebody's a half an hour of their live and they're like just getting started. You can hit the skip 30-second thing twice and you're fine. But I already told that person to, go screw off. So I don't think that they're listening to this. So if you're listening to this, that means you're awesome. And pat yourself on the back for that. So we got quite a bit of topics to get into. So let's start just diving into this. And we can bounce around with a bunch of different things here, but let's talk about one of those things that would have been a slightly bigger topic if we would have done this, right after they would have had them. But realistically speaking, when it comes to these releases, it's not as big as some other ones as well. WWE has released over the past week, since the last episode of the Hot Tags, Ashante the Adonis, Scarlett Bordeaux, I guess she was just Scarlett, and Karrion Kross. And this has been a talking point for a while about the idea of Karrion Kross and Scarlett leaving the company. So we've already kind of given our thoughts about, we don't necessarily think that he would be a good fit in AEW. And then what are the pros? What are the cons? The big support that he's gotten versus whether or not that was justified and, all the things like that. We've kind of already talked about it ad nauseum, but I think the one thing to really get into when it comes to Karrion Kross and Scarlett is now there are these discussions that are happening that this is a ploy for a Paul Heyman strategy. I don't buy into this at all, by the way. I think that the sources
Paul Heyman strategy.
So I think it was Billy Body, which that's already taken with a grain of salt. No. Right. So I think it was him that this eventually, if you try to find the source, I think that this is where that came from. And that already makes me just go, all right, never mind. Supposedly, according to whatever, blah, 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 that Heyman and Karrion Kross and Scarlett have an idea of, let's try to pretend like this is a real release and to drum up fan support and have him wrestle elsewhere so that it creates bigger buzz, and then he can come back to WWE as like a, yay, we got him back thing. I don't buy into that at all. First off, I think if WWE was interested in re-signing him, they would have just re-signed him. They would have given him a decent offer. He would have accepted it, and that would have been the end of it. TKO doesn't, like, they're too money hungry, money centric, and I don't think that they would play those kind of games. Versus, I also just kind of don't think that the buzz is really happening all that much. So, I mean, if it is true, it's a gamble, and you don't win every gamble. But I think that they just gave him an offer. It wasn't as high as he would have wanted. They weren't interested in giving him a bigger offer. And then he got released. He expired. I think that's just as simple as that. And Ashante, the guy was on a main roster contract, and he was working on NXT, and he was barely being used on NXT. Of course they released him.
I'm sure the contract wasn't over, like, through the roof. You know what I mean?
For Ashante, you mean? Or you mean Karrion Kross?
I mean Ashante.
I'm sure that he wasn't, he certainly wasn't making Roman Reigns money, but like on a main roster contract for being somebody that had been on SmackDown and all, like, it was guaranteed more than the regular person on NXT.
I for one can't wait to see him join First Class in TNA.
He should
reemerge on NXT.
It's exactly where he should go. Yeah.
Like, he's talented. I liked his shitbag gimmick of, like, thinking you're so attractive and then all these women want nothing to do with you. I think that was great.
I love the Adonis Lee catchphrase.
I thought, like, in another world where the other half of what I'm about to suggest is remotely in-ring competent, Nikita Lyons and Ashante the Adonis would have been a fun, like, fuck these people kind of heel couple. But
I think him alone, like, he would have gotten over in, like, that Attitude Era, like a Val Venus type or something.
Right, because I think, and this is something I think is missing in wrestling right now in general, we need more defined lines on the roster. We need more, like, you are a lower mid card and your ceiling is European Championship, but that's okay because you have a dedicated spot on the card. We need more of that. But the one I obviously want to talk about here is Karrion Kross, because we do make the jokes of, like, I don't have to sound cute up, but the SpongeBob, oh brother, this guy stinks, But there was clearly a wave happening with Kross where people wanted to see him. And even outside of that, it does mean something when Paul Heyman is going out there and being like, hey, well, what a fucking talent. And, oh my God, him and Scarlett, like, how can they not make money? And he's comparing them to Stone Cold Steve Austin. Like, I think you have something there. And I do think that it could be something where he winds up back there. I do think it's a gamble, and I do think it's the kind of gamble where once he shows back up, R-Truth, he won't. The pop isn't seeing him show back up, and then it's like everything quiets down. I think you're wrong in that there hasn't been a lot of buzz. It's just that the buzz in the current wrestling space dies down within 2 days. Like, he had a great, the documentary they put out is fantastic. It made me root for him. I'll pull the curtain back on this. Even my mother was like, he's supposed to be a bad guy? Like, I was like, yeah, he's actually supposed to be, like, a cult leader. And she's just like, he's out here hugging his grandma. I don't want to, like, root against this person. Like, it showed a version of the people behind the character that you can cheer for. And I know that's, like, the new kayfabe, but, like, I don't know. I don't know if that's, like, what you want to see from the guy whose whole thing is supposed to be cult leader. I'll say this: I don't want him in AEW. Nobody on this panel wants him in AEW, but I don't think he wants to be in AEW. I would love, and I tweeted this out for whatever the fuck Freddie Prinze Jr.'s thing is going to be. Go ahead and build it around this guy who's clearly a cinematic guy and wants everything to be these weird fun vignettes with Kevin Sullivan and Paul Ellering, and he's a creative guy. But whatever he's bringing, it doesn't fit in this era of pro wrestling. And I do know that he said on Helwani's pod, oh, they refused to like talk to me and Scarlett together. They were like, we want you first, and then we'll get around to her. And I don't know if that was a breaking point where he's like, no, if you're taking me, you're taking my wife. But I think they could end up back in WWE. I just don't know where you go from there, because we had something organic that was kind of getting some momentum. It'll just be the R-Truth thing. It'll be, yeah, Kross is here, and then it'll be, anyway, he's on Main Event next week. Yeah, and I don't want that.
Right.
I think, as I say, the Ashante thing doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. That was an obvious release at a point where he came available. It's technically not a release; it's a contract expiry, so they're just not re-signing him. So, and that's always fine and good. Let's say he will end up in TNA or GCW or something like that in the meantime, if he wants to continue wrestling, that is. And then, but the Karrion and Scarlett one, I think the more interesting aspect of this story, beyond the fact of just the release, beyond in a environment where they were seemingly getting somewhat organically over, even if it was a bit of an overreaction, I think, because I know I saw people like on Twitter or other places like say, oh, the night after or the first Raw after he's been released, we're going to take over Raw, and there's going to be "We Want Cross" chants all over the place, and there's just silence on that show.
Nobody fucking like that was. Let's be real. That was 10, 15 years ago already. Like that's not. It's not cool anymore to hijack every single show with chance for a guy like Kross, and I like Kross, but you're not going to hijack a show for the guy who was on like a lower mid card match at SummerSlam, you know?
Yeah. Well, yeah, but I'd say the more interesting thing from my perspective is why there is so much talk of this being a work, and so much talk about this being a potential like story, whether it is just a like people just trying to fit their own narrative to it based on what's happening and other bits and pieces of like tangential evidence. But why should it be so clear cut? Surely it should be, as Tony says it's to be, and like he's got, and there's no reason to suggest that Tony's wrong in this in his assessment, that it is just the case that they just got released because they weren't interested in keeping them around any longer. They weren't doing anything significant with them, and even if they were getting seemingly somewhat organically over, that hasn't stopped them from releasing people in the past before. And if they were given an offer and they didn't think it was significant enough, or they gave them such a minimal amount of time, as Karrion said in that interview with Ariel Helwani, that he got the offer and said, you've got to accept it in the next 24 hours or it's gone.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So that's kind of the... so, as I say, and there's definitely a very real possibility that that's just how the course of events happens. They weren't interested in keeping Karrion Kross any longer. They gave him one final offer, which was probably either similar or less money than he was currently on. He didn't accept it straight away, and so they moved on. So, and that's like a very real possibility. But the fact that so many people, including at least by certain reports internally within WWE and TKO, think that it's a work or don't know whether it's a work or whether it's real, is more of a damning sign of, yeah, no one really knows no one trusts what's happening in this company anymore internally. In terms of you get into really dangerous territory. Working the fans is what you should always aim to do. When you start working people behind the scenes, then that's when it gets troublesome. It's like,
do we buy into the idea that you have to do that in the modern age?
That you have to work the people that work in the company?
I work the fans sort of thing.
Because
like you have to like really keep it tight knit so that, the guy who's rigging the lights or whatever doesn't blab or whatever.
I don't know.
Like,
I think you do for big surprises. Like, you don't want to spoil something like if this isn't going to happen, but like theoretically, if it was going to be like at Clash in Paris, fucking Kenny Omega shows up and it's like, wow, we're going to actually do a crossover thing between AEW and whatever. Like, you wouldn't want anybody to know because you would want people to go, oh shit. But like, if at Triplemania, and we'll talk about our predictions when it comes to that, if it's like, we're also going to see in the crowd is Tiffany Stratton's in the audience, like, I don't fucking care, to let everybody know. Like, it's, I just think
you play a dangerous game where you are keeping. Let's say we've had situations. We've had the Rollins thing recently. With like, was he injured? Was he not? We've had the R-Truth release. Was he released? Was he not? Swore he was released, but like the idea of like what was the whole purpose behind that? With Triple H even trying to claim that it was a story in the first place. You've got so you got like a few, like the Brock thing as well. Like, I assume that was kept secret from a lot of people as well. I'm sure they didn't know, at least by certain people who've come out in the meantime saying that like, oh, Brock's here, and like, so they didn't know that Brock was coming back. I'm saying you need to tell everybody everything, because like certain people just don't. You don't need to tell, I don't know, fucking like Berto that Brock Lesnar's coming back.
Yeah.
And, like, but
Bailey's
it's the idea
and go, hey Bailey, by the way.
Yeah. But it's more about the idea of, if you start doing these sort of things, like you release like Kross and it turns out it was a work all along and they did it to try and get this reaction when he comes back and think that this organic momentum that he's generated is worth buying into, then I just kind of go, well, now you're starting to tread into like dangerous water where you're like, it's not even about the fact of like the Kross feat in general. It's more the idea of when other people get released in the future, people will just be thinking, well, were they actually released, or like have my friends been released, or are they still there, or are they doing some sort of angle with them? And then it just leads into a lot of discontent and uncertainty surrounding people's position in the company. And I think that that's a very dangerous game to potentially play. So, if for like the sake of just I guess sowing as little discord as possible behind the scenes, it's probably for the best that Kross and Scarlett have actually been released rather than the alternative, because I think that could actually open a bit more of a dangerous can of worms. We saw, well, we didn't see it because we weren't watching as closely at that point in time, but we know all the stories about what happened in WCW and the shit show behind the scenes there. So you don't want to see that the same thing emerge in any promotion, or any promotion you want to succeed at the very least.
And even just recently with the R-Truth thing, they released R-Truth and Carlito. And if the whole thing with R-Truth, which I don't for the slightest bit of me believe was a work, I think that they saw that R-Truth had his contract up and they were like, well, he's on the older side and we use him as a comedic guy, and we already did the big story with him and we got that out of the way. So let's just release him and save money. And then the people that care are not the people that are making these decisions, because they're not the higher ups that are just quite literally looking at spreadsheets. And I think that Carlito being released at that same time and all, there's no like, well, we worked the whole R-Truth thing and we were going to bring him back. No, you weren't. And then if you did, why the fuck did you release Carlito at the same time? That's very cruel. To then give him, and it was somebody else too, wasn't there? Like a woman in NXT at the same time or something, like right around that time frame. I forget exactly, but like that would have been like really fucking mean to be like, we're gonna release 2 or 3 people, but one of them's a fake release just to fuck with you. I'd be like, oh, come on. Now the other one's gonna be like, well, am I actually fired? Or no, you're actually fired. Fuck you. But the other one, we're gonna pretend it. No, don't do that kind of thing. Now maybe there's some truth to maybe the idea of like, maybe Karrion Kross and Paul Heyman did have a discussion, and maybe Paul Heyman was like, hey, look, there's a way to turn this into this as a possibility. You might actually be fired, but it might work out in the grand scheme of things, this business changes. Like, it could be that kind of a thing without being a true literal WWE strategy. But I still just buy into the idea more that it's like, now they gave him an offer. It was on the lower end than he would want. They probably weren't all that interested in paying for Scarlett. He probably wants Scarlett around, because why wouldn't he, to have his wife next to him and earn more money to go along with that too. And they probably, if they said that they wanted to talk separately, it's probably because let's throw out an arbitrary number. Let's just say like it's $1 million contract. And they were like, we'll give you $1 million, but we don't want to talk to you and Scarlett at the same time, because then it's going to seem like we need to have more than $1 million. So if we can get you for $1 million and you can lock in, then we can lowball Scarlett and be like, and we'll give her $100,000. And if you are trying to be a package deal, well, then it's going to seem a little bit weird if we say we'd only be willing to pay 11 for you too. You know what I mean? Like, I think it's just a numbers thing, and I think he's just gone. I don't think he's coming back, because this is already the second release that he's had too. Typically speaking, when people tend to be released like that, they usually don't get a third. And if they do, it's because they've gotten a third and a fourth and a fifth and a sixth, and it's the type of person that just goes and circles around like a Ric Flair type or something. And Kross hasn't gotten to that point, so I don't know. Maybe I'm dead wrong, but
that's the other funny thing out of this one as well, is the I saw of the a lot of the memes going around of the remember back in like 3-4 years ago with the Infinity Gauntlet.
Yeah,
of Triple H's stuff, all those people. How many of those people were still there?
Yeah,
people
like 4 of them left.
Yeah, it's like Johnny Gargano and
Bronson Reed and
Bronson Reed are still there, but then you have so many releases. You have BFAB, I guess, is the one that's still there. That's like came back, but the other two members of the the previous Hit Row. That's what they're called.
I was like, top class, no. First class, no. Top flop, no.
Swerve,
Hit Row, like Braun Strowman.
Dakota Kai,
Dakota Kai.
Tegan Knox was another one. Like,
I think Dexter Lumis might be one.
Yeah, he's still there now.
Lumis, Mia Yim, Gargano, Candice. So like that's who you got.
Yeah, and the only one that's like really, really doing anything out of all those is technically Bronson Reed, and he's the third wheel out of stable right now. So
Gallows and Anderson gone as well, so was one of the other ones on it. So yeah, it's like it's just quite funny to see. Like, that was a big part of the immediate goodwill that Triple H came back, because like all these people that were released under Vincent Mann's horrible regime of all released during like the COVID pandemic and stuff, he brings them all back, and then within a few years he just goes, we're done now as well. So
this collective idea in WWE of how quickly can we get rid of all that goodwill? Like, motherfucker, 2025 has been a year of how quickly can we dismantle and completely ruin things across the board, and there's a common denominator.
And still manage to get paid a lot more money, and build up our reputation in the eyes of the fan base that we want to appeal to now.
It's crazy. So, I mean, Ashante, I agree with the idea of, like, I think that the best place for him would probably be TNA. Of course, we can't speak to the best place for people to go when it's their decisions. And, for all we know, Ashante might be like, I really fucking want to go to GCW or something like that. But, like, I think he'd make perfect sense to be in first class. And then Karrion Kross and Scarlett, I don't know. I mean, maybe they go back to TNA too. Maybe they finally get something going on with that Freddie Prinze Jr. thing, which has been how many years at this point that it's been like, it's right around the corner.
He did say that things got set back because of the wildfires.
Oh, the wildfires set him back. Not just like COVID.
Or like personally.
Huh.
Like personally, the wildfires set him back. So
I don't know why people aren't looking like beyond the obvious, which is all the guys that did the control your narrative stuff are now free agents. They're just going to go back to do control your narrative again.
I don't ever want to,
but they will, especially in this climate. They're going to do control your narrative again.
Oh god, right? It's going to be on Fox Nation. Fox Nation presents Control Your Narrative Wrestling, hosted by Jesse Waters. Like, what are we doing here?
Well, this isn't a release, but it's a we'll see you in a while. Adriana Rizzo, injured with a torn ACL and meniscus. Apparently had a partial tear for like over a year.
Never been healthy a day in her WWE career, and now looks forward to being completely healed. Like, what? That's crazy.
That does kind of explain, though, why she's done such little actual wrestling over the course of her career, because she's, relatively speaking, like, she's been there long enough, and without knowing until now about this injury, it just seemed like it was like, why the fuck do you have her if you never want to use her for anything? She's just a valet, and like, she's a fun valet and everything, but like, man, you kind of would think that they would have her wrestle once in a while, and she would wrestle. She kind of is in the BFAB category where it's like she would wrestle like once every like 5 months, and you would just be like, oh, that's right, she does wrestle. And then, but yeah, torn ACL and meniscus. It's gonna be a while since we've seen her. That sucks for her, but hopefully she comes back pretty healthy. Seems like Liv Morgan is even going to be out further. That's another injury report about her shoulder surgery is setting back her timeline. And then here's a big thing to talk about when it comes to quote unquote injuries / medically cleared / we don't really know because they don't really want to say it or whatever. Naomi, not on Raw this week. And the only information that's been put out there has been like, well, she's not medically cleared and there's no explanation of why. And my immediate red alert goes, oh, she's probably pregnant. And then a couple other reports come out and it's like, all right, it seems like she could be out for a while. And like, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. I'm assuming Big Jim didn't proceed with caution and that it's just a matter of
Jesus Christ.
Was he drunk behind the stick again?
Jesus Christ. Guys, like,
oh come on, Rob, you have to do a third one.
It's a different kind of Uso splash, if you know what I mean.
Well, we don't know for sure, and I'm not gonna comment on it. But if she is, there may be another glow.
I am assuming that this is the case with the assumption, of course, that I don't fucking have any idea what I'm talking about because I'm not behind the scenes and all. And obviously that's not something that if they don't want people to know, then they have all the right to not tell people and to keep things as hush as they want to. But it just seems like it's very strange for it not to be that. Typically when somebody is pregnant in WWE, it's usually brought up as something like this, where it's like, oh, there's some kind of, they're not going to be wrestling for an unknown reason, blah, blah, blah type of thing. And then you get like Becky vacates the title to Asuka, or you get like Lacey Evans has a push going on and then she's not medically cleared and we're not going to say what or why or whatever. And oh, look at that. It's because she's going to be out for a while because she's pregnant again or whatever. And if that is the case, congrats to Naomi and Jimmy Uso. Obviously I know that's something that she did some interviews recently where she said that she was trying to get pregnant. So hell yeah, that's great. That's awesome news. It sucks that it happens now out of all time. Like, but it would have been even worse. It would have been 2 months ago where it would have been like, all right, well now what do we do with the Money in the Bank briefcase? And now she doesn't get the chance to have her whole cash in and she had her moment at SummerSlam where her dad's playing her out to the ring and stuff. So it's like, in a way, she kind of already peaked with that. The rest of it would have just been, for all we know, that the plan was for her to drop the belt to Stephanie Vaquero already. And maybe it's like, guys, just go ahead and do it,
It's possible. I hope for the best, obviously, because like these days, when I hear injury in WWE and especially a woman, I go, oh God, how's the ACL? How's the
Yeah.
how's the meniscus? So hopefully it's for good reasons. Hopefully she's healthy and can come back whenever she's ready. And if it is a possible pregnancy, can we stop this bloodline? These bloodline people need to be stopped. We need to just, you gotta stop this, okay? Enough is enough.
You need more and more. You need the eighth generation of the, we need in 2042, it needs to be a story about like Roman Reigns comes out there and does the whole thing that Offensika did, and he crowns a new tribal chief, and and by that time they'll have figured out what they were doing with Lance on Hawaii.
No, but I really, hopefully it's exactly what everyone is starting to speculate. Hopefully it's the happy reason and everybody's healthy.
Yeah, and not some kind of like...
We're all doing Uso dances, in celebration.
Yeah, so you don't want to speculate too much because there could be another reason, so I'm not going to say congratulations to them just yet until the announcement is made official. But, or if there is any announcement to be made official in the first place, but it does seem like, just based on the telltale signs, what this reports and rumours are speculating, that seems to be the likely outcome. There doesn't seem to be maybe too many other reasons to suggest why she would just be pulled out of a match for no real injury reason. So, as I say, we'll wait and see what the kind of fallout from that is and how that resolves itself if it is, in fact, that she is pregnant. I hope for her sake that if that is the case, that it doesn't take as long as a Jey Uso entrance does.
I mean, she might turn right around and one more time, Some people like to have back-to-back pregnancies.
Twins, so it'll probably be really quick. And
oh fuck, if it is twins as well, that's great. Because isn't that the thing that like twins are more likely to have twins?
But occasionally it does skip a generation, so. But maybe, who knows? Maybe we've got the future WrestleMania main eventers in 20.
Yeah, I'm saying that this is the 2050 main event is about to be. It will be born in that case, but
what other J names can we give them? Because it's like Jimmy and Jay or John and Josh, and we got we have like Josiah and Jeremy.
Well, Solo's real name is a Jay, isn't it?
Roman's
Joe.
Is Joe, and Samoa Joe is.
What is Solo Sikoa's real name?
It's Joe Yokozuna Fatu.
Really? Joe Yokozuna Fatu. That's cool. Yeah. So we got Joe covered. There's a million Joes. We don't need any more Joes. But John and Joe and Jerry and...
what about Jeff? Is
Jerry Uso. Yeah, that sounds like it's a real bit.
We got Jacob Fatu, so male names.
How about Jebediah Russo?
I mean, I'd be down for something like that. Male names that start with J. We're going to get Jalen, we're going to get Jamie, we're going to Joel, Jonah.
I don't think we're getting Joel Uso. I don't think they don't strike me as Joel people.
You don't want Jasper Uso running?
that one's not bad.
Well, if that ends up being the case, congrats to the happy couple and all that, but that also brings up the question: what do you do with the title? Because she's the women's world champion, and this
is great. You got a healthy roster of Io, Rhea, Stephanie Vaquer,
Asuka Bianca. Just turning heel. You got
Bianca's not healthy.
Yeah, she's not ready to wrestle yet. Really? It seems, but I mean, who knows? Maybe she gets the clear in the next week or something like that. For all we know.
I mean, that's a really bad broken L. Let's say you have EO, you have Rhea available to you. You could do stuff with Asuka and Kairi Sane, and there's plenty of people that Roxanne, Raquel, Liv could be back soon. You never know. So there's plenty of people that you can just pit against Stephanie Vaquer in a one-off match at Clash in Paris. I mean, maybe, I don't know, maybe make a triple threat with Rhea and Io again, because that seems to be the trend now to do that. And just so they can, interact with each other again and still not have Rhea pin. And never have Rhea eventually pin Io. But yeah.
That might be their Mania drag out.
It could be.
I wouldn't be surprised, yeah. But yeah, or you could just like throw someone in, and if the plan was to have Stephanie Vacare win, or you could just use this opportunity to crown Stephanie Vacare and like push her to the moon. So yeah, there's like, as I say, there's always a good silver lining in these sort of things. That even if you did have a plan, it's like you can't really a change of direction helps spur the creative juices a little bit. And at the end of the day, it's just crowning someone as a champion. They can still fuck up the booking from that point on, regardless of who it was. So I'm sure they have plenty of options to win the title if they need to change it.
And a lot of the times that could be some of the most interesting things that happen. Like, look at, like, my go-to example for this tends to be Undertaker is injured. What do we do? Well, we can't have Mr. Kennedy because we don't realize that his injury is not as bad as we thought that it would be and whatever. So let's have Edge beat Kennedy for the Money in the Bank briefcase and then cash in on Undertaker after Mark Henry beats him up in a steel cage match when he was beating Batista and whatever. And you're like, holy shit, there's a lot going on here. But it ends up with Edge as champion and then a, whacked out story that goes in all sorts of different directions. But then there's also
that gave them a year and a half of TV.
And it gave him a great WrestleMania 24. And then at the same time, there are instances where it goes, okay, well then what do we do? Because there's another injury following that. And you go, well, let's put the group belt on Great Khali. And then you're like, wow, son of a bitch.
You know what though? That was the perfect storm in the negative direction of like, everyone's hurt. I don't know. Let's just do the most realistic thing and do a battle royal where the big 7-foot guy just can't get eliminated.
And then just come back around to Batista and all. Yeah. But like, they do have a wealth of people. You could do something a little bit even more interesting. You could be like, all right, we're going to hold like a cross-branded tournament or something, or we can do some kind of, I still think that they should be doing a draft, and for all we know that could be like something to bring somebody from SmackDown into the mix or whatever.
No, it's going to be 3 triple threats,
probably
with the winners of the 3 triple threats facing off, and it'll be Rio winning one, Io winning another, and Vacare. Like,
unless it ends up being
Vacare has
Vacare has earned it, so it might be those 3 fighting Vacare in a 4-way in Paris.
Unless it ends up being that they throw Asuka in there and it's a 4-way.
Well, yeah, they seemingly, based on what's happened on Raw, they're seemingly building up a story between Asuka and the other 2 Kabuki Warriors members. Asuka and Io at least, and probably throwing Curry in there as well. So
Rio will tag with Io against the Kabuki Warriors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or you could just, maybe it's even an opportunity because if Naomi is going out for a while, that leaves them kind of very light on the heel side of things until Liv comes back. And so maybe it is an opportunity to turn one of Stephanie or Io or Rhea heel. I don't know whether you do necessarily do that because they're all very popular, quite organically popular. So turn one of them heel could be, I don't say disastrous, but it could be problematic for them in terms of just making sure they've got a lot of top stars that will help like move merchandise and that stuff. But they need someone to be the top heel on the Raw side of things if Naomi's not going to be around to do that. I know it seems Becky, like technically, but
it seems like Bayley's going to turn heel based off of her vignette thing. And I'm not particularly interested in her being the champion and all, but like I would assume that Asuka is probably turning heel out of this too. So then, I guess Bayley and Asuka just sort of fall into that.
Naya's in limbo. She just defeated Lash Legend. She could go over to Raw.
And so far they haven't announced anything with that. They haven't, obviously specified if it's like
Adam Pearce will do a social media video on Sunday at 12:05 p.m. that will say, "Ladies and gentlemen, here's the rundown of the Monday Night Raw card. Also, I will be addressing the Women's World Championship situation, and it is official."
Probably, and then it'll be a bunch of unknowns for the entire day on Monday, and then on Monday we'll have the very quick. She's no longer going to be champion. She's been vacated the title, and then here's the triple threat announcements that we're going to get, and the 3-way qualifiers and stuff.
Naomi, so if it is the positive thing we're all speculating, they're going to give Naomi the moment to go, "Hey guys, this is happening. By the way, shout out to Naomi. She's been on WBTV for 15 years. Like, it's crazy.
Well, with
15 years.
a bit with a bit
That's
of
right.
a gap in between.
With a year excursion in TNA. Excuse me. Like,
Yeah, good for her. Hopefully good news, and hopefully some good things spawn out of this. The tag team division, the women's world championship division, the mid-card titles. Like, there's a lot to balance out and everything, but it could just be something as simple as just, all right, well, let me just go Vacare, Rhea, EO. We don't think about it anymore, and that's the end of it, and we move right on and act like there's nothing else. Or it could be something that changes the whole roster around. I don't know. But I'm curious.
The answer to everything is putting the title on Chelsea Green, clearly.
I mean, that's kind of like, to be perfectly honest, like, I would probably pitch something like that because Chelsea's fucking great.
She's too busy being Canadian on NXT. She's going to solve Canadian and American relations
I guess so. Let's see here. Let's go with a random topic here. New Japan G1 Climax. What's the updates on
that? So we have entered the semi-final stage, which will be taking place. The semi-finals and the finals will be taking place this weekend over in Tokyo. But as of right now, the playoff matches between the second and third place finishers of each block saw Yota Tsuji defeat Shota Umino and Konosuke Takeshita defeat David Finlay. Which is quite funny because it's both third place people beating both second place people. So again, it just shows how kind of higgledy-piggledy these playoff systems are now. But it means that the semi-finals now, we're down to 4 people. One of them will win the G1 Climax. So we have Evil against Yota Tsuji in one semi-final, and then Zack Sabre Jr. versus Konosuke Takeshita in the other semi-final. So there are multiple different ways they can go with this. Obviously, the least likely winner is Zack Sabre Jr. because he's the current world champion, so it would be odd to see him win the G1. But I do not think it is impossible because there is a precedent that if the world champion wins the G1 Climax, then he gets to choose his opponents for Wrestle Kingdom instead. And I think that that's a way that if they were so inclined, they could push the idea of Zack Sabre Jr. challenging like a Will Ospreay for the Wrestle Kingdom main event. But I think that's probably the least likely route they'll take. Obviously, the one that nobody wants them to go with is Evil, but Evil is a very real possibility. I think that Evil will make the final because he's the head of their main heel faction, and it adds a lot of jeopardy into the final because, well, nobody who likes good wrestling will want Evil to win the G1 Climax. But then again, the guy who runs the promotion right now doesn't seem to care too much about good wrestling and cares more about heat. So I think that there is a very real possibility Evil wins. There's a very real possibility Yota Tsuji wins because he's probably the young good guy in the G1 that had the best G1 in terms of his performances, and seems to be the one that's best poised to actually break out and become a headlining act for the company. And then Takeshita's, we know how good he is, so there wouldn't be any problem with them choosing Takeshita, but it's just whether they want to really push a primarily AEW wrestler who had quite a mixed G1 because it just felt like he didn't care that much. See him become the de facto world champion, but there is no doubting that in terms of Japanese talent, he's probably one of the top stars in the world right now and one of the most charismatic and best wrestlers. So I'd say all 4 of them have a shot. I'd say Zack has very little shot, but he does have a chance. My prediction is the final will be Evil versus Takeshita, and then Takeshita will win the final.
You know, I know very little about New Japan history. I don't study it as much as I'd like to. But I think in times of, in times of valleys instead of peaks, I think you stick with the homegrown, buckle down and rebuild your roster. And I think I'd go Tsuji in that case. Like, really make this guy.
Eventually, you got to make somebody.
Tanahashi's
well, you say that, but that's been what everyone's been saying for the last 3 or 4 years, and they still haven't done it. So,
granted, and I know I'm one of them because the first time I saw this guy, I just said, "Holy shit, he looks like, he stepped off a movie set." But Tanahashi's retiring. You've done the middling thing with Yoda for a while. Strap the rocket to him. You don't have Naito. You don't have Tanahashi. You don't have Okada. Really, you did that whole press release about the new Three Musketeers. Go. Now is the time to push forth and make these people. And maybe even if it meant like a product that wasn't resonating with me or whatever, maybe stop the globalization. Maybe just fucking focus on Japan. You know what I mean? Not everything has to be crossovers and forbidden doors, and we're making, we gotta have this globalization. It's New Japan Pro Wrestling. Maybe, create a boom for your local audience, and then it'll start to expand out again.
But yeah, that's the G1 update. Then we will know after Sunday who is the G1 Climax winner, and whether they'll have a title match at Wrestle Kingdom or before or after, because the rules are now out of the window when it comes to this New Japan stuff. So,
all right, so when it comes to the future with that, come back around to that in a little bit. Let's talk about some other company related stuff here. Let's talk about this counter programming that WWE is trying to do, because it's all coming back around and it's all the same kind of thing. They are going to be trying to shoehorn in and cram a September show to offset All Out. And it's August 15th. You're going to try to spin around and just go, okay, well, it's going to be Payback or whatever in so-and-so. And it's Brock Lesnar versus John Cena. There you go. That's your thing. And don't watch AEW. Watch this instead. We've already talked about a lot of this. We fucking think that it is what it is. It's ridiculous. We don't like it. It seems very... it's reactionary from WWE in a way that they don't want to admit, because it's the whole, we don't think that they are, they're not competition, but we actively have to go out of our way to try to sabotage them. It's the grandstanding type of shit that a lot of people that are in those kind of positions do, where it's the accusatory thing is because you do it and all that. But that seems like it's also working into the TNA side of things too, and we're going to lump these together. There are more and more reports that WWE is trying to help negotiate things for TNA to either get some kind of a deal with some kind of a network that can be on Wednesday and offset Dynamite, or be on Sunday and lead into LFG, and to do whatever they can to kind of position that as another tool towards fucking over AEW and trying to, let's give a bonus to an entity that we are now attached to and then hurt our competition. I don't blame them for having that kind of a strategy, by the way. To a certain extent, business is supposed to be cutthroat, and that's the whole point and all that. I still think that business is pretty evil in a lot of ways, but whatever. But now there's also on top of that a rumor that former UFC owner Lorenzo Fertitta is going to buy out TNA Wrestling. And that gives even further speculation to the idea that, at some point they're just going to merge all this together and TNA is just going to be a TKO entity or something. Whether that ends up being soon, or it ends up being that it's just a partner and they're not technically underneath or whatever, there seems more and more to that as time goes on.
Well, Lorenzo has nothing to do with TKO, right?
As far as I'm aware, I don't know too many specifics about this because I never really followed UFC, but the little bits that I've been reading, it doesn't seem like he's officially a part of it, but that it would be let's get our friend to buy it and then he'll work with us, as opposed to it being he's officially in the mix. You know what I mean?
I know that information came from an article on Fightful Select, but Sean titled "Reckless Speculation" and just kind of said some things he had heard. Also in that was that Tony Khan was approached at least 2 times to buy TNA, and we're talking one of them being before he started the company of AEW, and he declined. Yeah, I guess I'm kind of like, as far as the counter programming thing, I'll get to that second. But in terms of Lorenzo purchasing it, I know that he like helped grow the UFC. I'm interested in the idea of TNA growing. I think the working relationship with WWE makes me not like it as much because it just feels like an extension of WWE. It feels like a NXT's NXT, and I don't like that. I want a strong third promotion, as Cal and I discuss frequently on this podcast. But the counter programming thing, the all out counter programming is whatever. Like, I thought it was weird that they didn't have a September pay per view to begin with, so that's fine to me. The one that you didn't mention is December, where they want to counter program
That's right. Yeah.
World's End with John Cena's fucking retirement match. Don't do this. Don't do this to a generation of people. Like, all right, look, I know, like, I'm gonna come across like the kid who grew up on John Cena, but as it turns out, I was literally like 8 when he debuted. I watched his whole on-screen career. Don't do this. Don't make me choose between like Cena's retirement, whatever the fuck AEW is doing. Please. And to that effect, no one is going to watch TNA over AEW. You put NXT Black and Gold, which I would have watched over AEW on some weeks, and they got trounced. Don't do this. Like, please, like, it's not good for TNA. It's not good for the fans. It's just going to make TNA look like a lesser than company, even more so. And like, it's a company being put in this position out of spite. Don't do this. Please, like, that's my thought on the whole counter programming, because it's not healthy. It's not. There's only so many days in a week, I understand that, but don't do this. Like, it's not good.
I mean, you add that to like the report that came out today that apparently like AEW Dynamite across both TN or TBS and Max viewerships are getting more like day of views than episodes of Monday Night Raw now on Netflix. So it's like there's this hot. Essentially, it's to me it's just sad, and I know it's the idea of like they're going to present it as like you're just being like cutthroat business approach, but it is just the only reason they're doing this is because their product at the moment doesn't stand up creatively to AEW's. And like I say, people can have their own perspective of it. I think it's like undeniable that AEW's creative is a level that's far beyond what WWE are doing right now. And especially with a lot of the stuff they've been doing outside of it as well, which has drained a lot of the goodwill, as we spoke about earlier. They're now seemingly from a position of almost unreachable dominance, almost feel like they're on the back foot again, which they were for a little while in like the 2021, 2022 kind of period before the bloodline really kicked off and really sparked things back to life for WWE. And then the CM Punk stuff and all the stuff that drained AEW and put them into a really seriously bad position. It almost feels like the role was starting to reverse. And obviously WWE in a dominant position. We know that that's the case. They just signed this giant ESPN deal and everything. So like, they're not going to suffer financially. But there does seem to be this now genuine, like, forceful attack on, and we saw it with the cross promoting, but we thought maybe I was just them just trying to take pennies off the dollar pretty much by putting, you know, an NXT show or like organising a TNA show or a Saturday Night's Main Event on the same time as an AEW show. Now if they're trying to put actual top PLEs in John Cena's final match and trying to get a TNA show to try and take some of the eyes away from AEW, or at the very least, if not take eyeballs from viewership, at least close off another avenue, another potential television network that could have signed AEW in their next TV deal. Then this is a clearly defined attack and assault on trying to get AEW gone. And the only reason they want AEW gone is not because they'll make more money out of it, because like at the end of the day they're going to make huge tons of money regardless. It's because they want to control the wrestlers. Like they want wrestlers, because if there's always a promotion that can offer big amounts of money to guys like Okada and Ospreay and Mercedes Moné, you fail to sign because AEW offered a better deal to them, then you're going to like always miss out on that. But when you are a monopoly and you control everything, and if your choice for your quote unquote competition is a company that's under your thumb, that you can just send over people to every now and again that you feel like it's trying to throw them a bone, then you're just then you control the wrestlers, and you can pay less to your top stars because they've got nowhere else to go. So, as I say, it is all about money in the end of the day, but it's not about trying to just make more money than AEW. It's about, no, we just want to pay less. It's about WWE making more money by paying the wrestlers less because they have no incentive to pay them more.
Absolutely.
There's no competition. So, I mean, that is the objective. And I think anyone that tries to say, oh, it's just them trying to be competitive and it's just like, friendly competition and just what you have to do in business, I just think you're a liar or delusional. Because, like, you can see it. It's so clearly in front of your face that what they want to do, it's now beyond the point of, like, just trying to, like, ruffle their feathers a little bit. It's now fully, clearly in your face. They want to kill AEW as soon as possible.
Yeah, they're spending too much money on these contracts, and they want to get as close to, well, they want to be, let's put it this way, every organization wants to be at a monopoly. They know that, technically speaking, they are not allowed to be, but that's why they pay money for people in leadership roles in Congress and whatever. That's why you get a gold brick put on top of your desk to be like, can you give me the ability to be a monopoly and do that kind of bullshit and whatever. And WWE wants to do the exact same thing. They want to make it to where, technically speaking, they're not going to be quote unquote a monopoly, because there will be other companies out there. They're just going to be so low on the pecking order that it'll be like, well, if you want to go and wrestle on the indies, we're not stopping you, but you can't make any money on it. So if you want to go to the actual place where you can make money, well, then now we're only going to offer you X amount because you can't go elsewhere. It's 100%. It's not even worth debating about. Like, it's transparent. It's exactly what it is. And if you could put them in the truth serum, that's what they would say. AEW gives people too much money and it makes us have to drive up our price. We don't fucking like that.
But again, taking the let's talk about business, blah blah blah, out of it. Let's talk about this from a wrestling fan perspective. TNA isn't going to take eyeballs off of AEW. They're just not. I say this as somebody who watches TNA every Thursday. They're just not. I don't understand that part of the logic. You know what I mean? It's not like, oh, well, like when Turner started Nitro and they were directly counter-programming WWE, and it was like, okay, given the even playing field of September 1995, that was doable. TNA isn't going to match up to AEW. It just isn't. I don't understand the need for this. Because you're just being petty and you're hurting everybody. You're not winning.
These people, again, it's across the board. A certain type of person sees winning as if their competition loses more rather than if they win more. And it's, a lot of people do actually, we'll tie that into, this is an actual story that's happening right now that they're trying to do when it comes to Jordan Grace and Blake Monroe. It's the you deal with self-esteem issues. I deal with self-esteem issues. I try to improve myself. You try to make yourself look better by tearing other people down. And so many people, again, we don't need to get into the politics because it's obvious. And the people that would need the analogy spelled out for them are too fucking stupid to understand it anyway. So many people are like, I will be better off if other people are worse off, even if I'm in exactly the same position or worse. But I'll feel better about myself if you're not in more competition. So they would rather have AEW fail and them hurt themselves in the process because, well, we took them out, than for them to be making more money hand over fist and then both people succeeding. It's an ego thing.
Well, yeah, and also it's just like I saw someone tweet about this, and like they're 100% right. It won't happen, but surely this should be a point where the wrestlers start to go, "Fuck this," because why would you want the company's top competition and your potential out, your leverage for contracts to go away? Why would you want a company that employs a lot of your friends and people that you've worked with in the past to go away?
Oh, I'm sure that the wrestlers themselves are all like, we're rooting for AEW to do better as long as it doesn't hurt me.
I was going to say, they don't.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Like, we love AEW.
Yeah, it's like the wrestlers don't. But it's a case of if they can see how transparent this is, this attack on the other promotion, and they're a part of it essentially, because I mean, that's like they're not like the ones leading the charge, but they are, I guess
they're
complicit because exactly. They're just observing it happen. Like, surely some of them can start to take a little bit of initiative and say, like, stop fucking doing this, because it's like, we don't want this company to die. Because and also from a TNA perspective, the only way, as Rob says, no one's going to watch TNA in its current form over AEW. The only way they can make TNA attractive is sending people from WWE to TNA, which means that a lot of people that currently wrestle for TNA won't get on TV and are expendable, so they won't have jobs. So that's, again, it just adds to the idea of, like, essentially the big thing would be, just from my perspective, and I know it's easy to say when you're just on the outside looking in, but just to wrestlers, develop a set of nuts and say, fuck this, like, we're not going to aid and abet your desire to kill the other top promotion in the world, like, that can actually, like, give us leverage, can make sure that we are getting paid what we deserve to get paid, and provide gainful employment to a lot of our friends and people in the business that won't be able to get employed if you're the only the only game in town. So, but they're not going to do that because none of them have spines. So, and the ones that do and have the ability to actually make change don't care. Like, you're not going to get Rollins or Reigns, Lynch or people like that saying this sort of thing. They're happy as long as WWE is succeeding. Fucking hell, Punk will probably lead the charge.
Man, they should really have a union. Thanks, Hogan.
That's why yeah. Well, I'd say the only way that would happen realistically is if AEW decide to do it.
Oh yeah.
And then it forces the other side. But then again, I don't think AEW would do that either. Because I'd say they're not perfect. They're run by a billionaire who wants to make money as well. He cares more about wrestling than the people on WWE side of things. I think I'd say Triple H cares about wrestling, but you know what I mean. Like, the people at the top, the very top, the people actually running the company don't care about wrestling. They care about making money. So, whereas Tony Khan cares about wrestling but he still wants to make money, and he still, like, takes advantage of the fact that wrestlers have a union, and he treats them as independent contractors when they're not independent contractors. But at least, to his credit, he lets them work other places if they want, if it doesn't impede on what he's doing. So,
now, to be fair, I've seen enough from both sides in that way where I'm just like, yeah, I do wish the wrestlers would, speak out, but it wouldn't happen. I would love it if some wrestlers at least said, "What are you doing? No one's gonna watch TNA over AEW." Like, the wrestlers watch AEW. You know what I mean? Like, what does this accomplish?
Well, rather than later, we're going to get some kind of TNA is now on this network on this night, and this event's going to counter program that, and this is going to be some right of first refusal deal with whatever, and all the chips will fall, and it'll all make perfect sense, and it might not be what we want and whatever like that, but it'll all be like, yeah, okay, that's where they were heading and all that. So
I mean, but even like look at this is a much smaller scale. But look at tonight. They're doing a special episode of Ring of Honor on YouTube just to like compete with the first. I'm not saying they're doing it for this, but like it is competing directly with the first like pre-show parts of TNA Emergence, and you just go, Jesus, can I watch anything without going? There's also this other wrestling on the other channel right now.
Yeah, it's really fucking frustrating because all it does is it makes somebody, like in my position, I'm going to be doing coverage of SmackDown and I'm going to be doing coverage of TNA, and that's going to mean that I'm not going to be interested in either of them as well as I should be. So neither of them are going to get as good of an attention, and that kind of makes me already go, well, if I'm not going to pay full attention to either of them, I might as well pay no attention to either of them, and then I'll half-ass this, and then that sucks. But speaking of that, TNA Emergence is happening. And yeah, by the time that you guys are listening to this podcast and stuff, it might even get started. But let's get through some of these predictions and stuff as it is. Actually, let's breeze through it as quickly as we can because most of these things don't really matter.
I'm the only one who watches, so.
I would say, actually, the simplest thing to do is none of these matches matter for the most part unless there's something that stands out. I don't think any titles are going to change hands unless it is maybe the Knockouts tag team titles. But like Leon Slater's not losing those belts, that belt. The Hardys aren't losing their belts. Trick's not probably losing the Moose. And then the rest of the matches, whoever wins. But like, Ryan Nemeth beats Hometown Man? Sure. Hometown Man beats Ryan Nemeth? Sure. Oh, they added Indy Hartwell and Rosemary. Literally, either one of them could win that. I guess it's Indy Hartwell.
Oh. See, like, this is where it gets weird. Because if we're going to talk about it, I'm not going to say, let's bring it up just to go, this card's shit. So I'll run through it real quick. I think Ryan Nemeth probably beats Hometown Man, but they're liking this Cody Deaner gets over on people thing. I think it's silly. Whatever. Steve Macklin, Jake something, International Championship. This one might be the best match on the card. I think Jake something should win, but they like having Macklin as the international champion. They're really putting him over as like the true TNA champion because everyone else works for another company. Except, I think this guy, Leon Slater versus Cedric Alexander, this is a fun match. This is a TNA throwback match. And it should be a lot of fun. I think Slater should win because he just got the belt. But like, I like Alexander. Would love to see him win the X Division title. Mike Santana, Sami Callihan. This one's interesting. If Callihan loses, he's retiring. So for that reason, I don't think he should lose. But Santana does need all the momentum going into Bound for Glory and his likely victory over Trick Williams. And since I just said that, Trick Williams will probably beat Moose. I think this is the one where you write off Moose and he can like take care of some nagging injuries. And the one match where I do think the belts change hands, I think Fatal Influence walks out with the TNA Knockouts World Tag Team Championships.
Could very well happen. Any predictions on your end, Cal?
Sorry, what are we talking about? I'm joking. I was actually paying attention. Yeah, I mean, Trick's going to beat Moose. We know that. I assume the Hardys will just retain because I don't think they'd...
that. That should be a good match, though. Hardys versus Rascals. I want to watch it.
Well, yeah. Why would they drop the titles before they have the highly anticipated match with the Dudley Boys? So, Mike Santana will win because they need to. Mike has to win really because, like, yeah, if you're going to build him up for this match at Bound for Glory, maybe then like surely he would get the win. I think it's quite. One thing I'd say is quite interesting is that it's weird that there's no Jay Hendry on this card.
Oh yeah,
they're getting ready.
Yeah, getting ready for him to to say goodbye. Maybe they just haven't had someone on the show to say I believe in Joe Hendry to turn up. So like, just say his name, and they just haven't been saying his name, so because he hasn't been appearing.
Don't say his name, and he'll disappear.
Another match.
I forgot what his name is.
Matt Cardona and Mustafa Ali are wrestling. I think Ali will probably win that.
Yeah, me too.
Because I think they're more invested in him.
Which one's heel out of those two?
Yes.
Ali.
Yeah, let's say like
Ali is still doing his, campaign, maniacal gimmick.
Well, so the system of baby faces now.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
But I don't think that's for long though.
Okay. Yeah, as I said, Fatal
Don't you want to watch this over Hangman Adam Page and MJF?
Well, unfortunately, I don't have to choose if this is on tonight instead. But to be fair, it is making that Ring of Honor show more appealing. Looking at this card,
you wouldn't rather watch this episode of SmackDown that was, at least the last time I checked, being labeled as the only thing that we really have to talk about is Drew McIntyre will talk about how he fucked up Cody.
They announced a bunch of segments. They announced a bunch of segments yesterday. You just don't pay attention to social media.
They didn't as of like 4:00 in the morning when I checked the last time on the website and stuff. Because
you checked the website.
Yeah, fuck me for a hub of WWE.com should have information.
Stop doing that.
No, it actually looks like it's, at least on the website, it's only the same things they had before. It's Fraxium against Melodont Miz, Street Profits against DIY, Drew McIntyre, whatever. The only difference seems to be it's Alexa Bliss against Piper Niven now on top of that. So they really didn't announce much else. But
also, just like as tangentially mentioned about Ring of Honor, so they announced that that one of the matches for the upcoming Death Before Dishonor, I think so. Yeah, Death Before Dishonor pay-per-view is Athena defending the Ring of Honor Women's World Championship against Mina Shirakawa, based on their interaction in the Casino Gauntlet match where Mina got injured. And it's quite funny because like one of the stories going into it is that if Athena wins, then she'll almost certainly break the 1,000-day barrier, and she's also won 68 matches in a row in Ring of Honor. So the whole story about that is that Mina's basically come up with the line of "You can't 69 Mina Shirakawa." is the story essentially going in? So I thought I'd mention that because that's like a nice little, that's a funny little thing because
I don't like
the sex and all that.
I don't like that they announced it, and here's why. I'm now just thinking, fuck, Tony's gonna win. And I just want Athena to be the AEW Women's World Champion. I'm ready. Like, I don't care if she can 69 Mina Shirakawa or not, but I want to see her with the AEW.
She can still be the champion, and she can still be the champion, and
I mean,
and be the AEW Women's Champion as well.
Yeah, but that's one of those things where if she wins, it's completely a given. You could argue it's a given anyway, but it's completely a given if she walks into Death Before Dishonor with the other women's title.
Just keep it on her forever at this point. Since we are tossing out predictions for TNA and stuff, let's talk about those predictions for the other events happening outside of that sort of bubble. AAA Triplemania 33, which has some WWE people in it. I'll do my live coverage, and it seems like JBL and Corey Graves are going to be on commentary. We've got 6 matches announced right now, one of them being the Bardal Cup, which is participants TBA. It's like a Royal Rumble or something. I'm completely unaware of how this works because I've never seen a AAA event.
It's just a gauntlet with Royal Rumble. It's a casino. What do they call it? It's a casino gauntlet. Yeah, it's that.
With like pinfall submission instead of over the top rope.
Yeah.
I like Royal Rumbles, but is there anybody that like you're aware of that would be like, oh, okay, this is clearly somebody that should be in that, and that person should win.
I have no clue.
Because like most of the names that I'm familiar with them promoting already from like Worlds Collide and stuff are already accounted for on this card. Like they already have Mr. Iguana on there. They already have Vikingo, obviously. So, yeah, it's complete fucking, I don't know when it comes to that. Natalia's on this card. She's in a 3-way for the women's title. And she's against Fabi Apache. I don't know how to pronounce the names. And Flamer? How do you pronounce her name? Flamer. I'm sure if you want to give the belt to Natty, go ahead, but I don't think so. Natty tends to be losing all these matches.
Not true. I think she wins when she goes to do Bloodsport and stuff. She could. I wouldn't mind seeing Natty get to do stuff. So I'd be okay with that. I don't have any allegiance to Bobby Apache or Flamer.
I could see them giving the AAA Latin American Championship to El Hijo de Dr. Wagner Jr. because they seem to like him quite a bit. But then again, I'm completely outside of the mix here, so I don't know if El Macias is some kind of like, well, that guy's going on a big tear or something. I could see the same thing when it comes to Pagano and Psycho Clown beating Los Garza for the tag titles. Flip a coin. If you're way more invested in AAA than I am, then you know better. Do not place your bets based off of what I'm saying. The mixed trios match is Lola Vice, Nino Hamburguesa, and Mr. Iguana against the trio of Judgment Day, Finn Balor, JD McDonough, and Raquel Rodriguez. Roxanne Perez is ringside, so I'm assuming there's going to be something with Roxanne and Layeska. They're about like same height, right? Yeah, again, it's like the type of thing I could see them giving the Judgment Day a win there. It's a trios match, just there's no title on the line or whatever, and I could see that they have the baby faces all happy at the end there. The real thing here is a 4-way for the AAA Mega Championship. Vikingo is defending against Dragon Lee, El Grande Americano, the Ludwig Kaiser version, and Dominic Mysterio. And they did just put this belt on Vikingo, but I think that they did that to mostly avoid having it on Del Rio. I fully expect the title to change hands here. And it could be literally any of the three, and it would make sense to me. So I'm going to...
What I would like to happen... okay, well, but if I'm honest, what I think is going to happen, what I want to happen is Dom is winning this belt.
I would hope so.
But what I would like to happen is El Grande Americano wins. And then Chad Gable comes back and he's just like, me, I'm champion. The original El Grande Americano.
I mean, that would be the third and fourth and whatever. You never have to worry about the champions injured if we've got 4 people playing the character.
Like I said, I think Ludwig Kaiser has done wonders in this role. He's gotten the people to like it because he actually speaks Spanish. Dragon Lee's just here to lucha, which is fine.
Mm-hmm. Probably take the pin.
And Dom should win. And he probably will win. And he's going to be the king of Lucas. And he's going to... and he'll lose it... Who the fuck? Maybe he loses it to Vikingo down the line. Maybe he loses it to his dad. You know? Who knows? And then Ray can have some generational dream match with Vikingo. It won't be the same. You know, Ray doesn't have working... He's got working knees, but not as well. And I could see it going to a lot of different people, but I think it's definitely got to go to Dom.
I'm rooting for Dom. I think that they're going to go potentially El Grande Americano. If it was Dragon Lee, it wouldn't shock me, you know, in the grand scheme of things. I don't think Vikingo is walking out with the championship, though.
I think Vikingo could.
He could.
If you wanted to build to singles with Vikingo and Dom. Yeah.
It could always be, well, we're just throwing these people in together and then we're going to do some kind of singles thing afterward or something. But again, I do not watch AAA. I've only seen the Worlds Collide thing. That was the only one AAA event that I've ever seen in my entire life. So fucking don't open up your wallets and go, well, Tony said that he thinks, well, don't blame me if you lose a lot of money.
If you do open up your wallets, please donate to the Patreon.
That's absolutely what you should do. That's a much safer investment because then you know that it's at least heading towards something good. Monday Night Raw. Let's go back around to that a little bit. We already talked about some of these things, the Naomi thing. You know, a lot of the matches, of course, over the course of, you know, Raw, NXT, SmackDown, Dynamite. We don't need to get into the nitty gritty about like Dom and El Grande Americano beat AJ Styles, Dragon Lee, blah, blah, blah. But going through reading what I had written out from my report right now, just to be double checking if there was anything that was particularly interesting that we need to talk about. We already mentioned Bayley's probably going to turn heel. Pay-per-view stuff we'll talk about another time. Yeah, I don't think that there's anything on Raw that we needed to get into. And NXT, Lash Legend lost to Nia Jax.
Good match for those two.
Yeah, they worked. Chelsea Green's going to try to get the Secret Service and Ethan Page to have a peace treaty next week between America and Canada.
This is so important in our turbulent times. I really think Chelsea Green is the leader we need.
It makes perfect sense that Taviana Heights, as an Olympian, would have called on Tyra May Steele as an Olympian to be like the American people for that. So they went with the most logical thing. Cool. Much more infighting with Fallon Henley and JC Jane and Jasmine Nix and Lainey Reed sucking up a little bit to Jane. And
I like it that in universe, Lainey Reed was like, screw you, you're weak, I can beat you. And now she's like, you have 2 titles and I want to lick your boots because I want to be on TV. Like, I think it's funny. Like, it's good storytelling.
Everything else sort of like rolled in with that. Like Jasper Troy had a vignette. He's going to fight Ricky Saints next week. So it's just, you know, hey, remember, he's going to fight him. Inamura and Briggs are going to fight next week. A lot of this was a very standard, just like we're telling the stories and it's going in the logical direction type of episode.
Dark State finished on top.
Yeah.
And they took turns beating asses.
Yeah, the Cutler James thing. I don't know. I don't know what they're doing there with that. Right up your
It's
butts.
working. He's the only one that people know. So it's clearly working.
And Dynamite, we've got that same kind of thing where we're like, you know, continuing some of these stories. We got some matches announced and all that. They did a 4-point different check-in and slowly tell the story throughout this episode and get confirmation at the end there that there's going to be a lights out steel cage match happening at Forbidden Door. Will Ospreay, Darby Allin, Hiroshi Tanahashi, and the Golden Lovers all mixed up together with Death Riders, Young Bucks, Gabe Kidd. That should be a lot of fun.
Yes. The first ever steel cage match I've ever I was seeing live. So
look, I will say this one episode of Dynamite made me go, how fast can I get a passport? Like, holy shit. Being in London for this one kind of seems like a must, doesn't it?
Yeah. I mean, let's put it this way. This isn't Forbidden Door in the traditional sense of Forbidden Door as a show. It's primarily like some big AEW matches, and then you throw in a few bits and pieces here and there to nod to New Japan and CMLL and Stardom's involvement. But as just a show, it looks pretty damn impressive. I mean, having this, I don't know how it's necessarily going to work to have 10 men in one ring in a steel cage. I don't know how that necessarily can figure it out. What I presume they're going to do is take the approach they did in New Japan when they did a similar 10-man steel cage match, which is it's essentially more a giant like ringed gate that goes pretty much stretches further out like a Hell in a Cell would, so they can wrestle within the bound with like outside the ring at ringside as well, and so you can have some people resting at ringside while other people are doing stuff in the ring. So yeah, I assume that's also easier to set up than an actual like dropping a steel cage or a Hell in a Cell from the roof. But I think they'll find some way to make sure that all 10 men can be involved without it being an absolute clusterfuck. Maybe it is an absolute clusterfuck, and then it can be fun either way. And then we always live and pray by Tanahashi and how his knees will survive another one, but somehow, some way, he'll find a way to jump off the cage.
No, stop
yeah,
suggesting this.
But he's going to do it.
open-
There's no point in me suggesting it. I'm not breathing it into existence. It's going to happen. It's already written into it's written into the fabric of time. It's going to happen.
In a world where we have Darby willing to do a top of the cage coffin drop, we don't need Tanahashi to hurt his knees. Please don't do this.
So that was a big thing. Also on Dynamite, we had the reuniting of Christian Cage and Adam Copeland.
Yeah. Big moment there.
Finally hugged it out. So they will now be fighting.
Oh, go ahead.
And they'll be fighting Nick Wayne and Kip Sabian at Forbidden Door as well, which will be my first ever.
Down for this though.
Yeah.
Kind of seemed like, okay, I don't feel forgiven yet, and then they were just like, anyway, at Forbidden Door, here's Edge and Christian. Like,
yeah, I feel they've rushed it a little bit. I can't deny that it doesn't feel as organic as maybe it should do. But it'll be the first time I've ever seen Edge wrestle live, so that'll be something. And their first pay-per-view match in 24 years, which, as has been discussed multiple times, is longer than Nick Wayne has been alive. So that's an interesting match to throw on there. And then we also learned that Carl Fletcher will be challenged by Hiromu Takahashi for the TNT title, which, it's an obvious title defense for Fletcher, but it means that should be a fun match because Takahashi's fun. And Hangman Adam Page managed to goad MJF into executing his contract, which means that means the contracts will be up after Forbidden Door. So that's an interesting world title match to happen, because I think we presumed, and maybe this is still the case, that it was going to be a long-running thing between Page and MJF, and that was going to be a feud that really ran through to the end of this year, maybe into early next year. And so to do the title match straight away seems is an interesting route to take. Personally, I think that Page is retaining still. And I know we'll discuss it when we get to the predictions next week, but I don't think that changes anything. But it does make it more of a interesting matchup and adds more jeopardy to it than if Page was just defending against like Yota Tsuji or Shota Umino or something.
I'm surprised we're not getting Mystico and the CMLL World Title online.
I'm very surprised about that.
I think CMLL want to do that in Arena Mexico, so I don't think they would be able to get away with doing it at Forbidden Door.
I could even see that being Mystico being the reason why MJF loses this match or something. They want to go in that direction.
By all reports, Mystico is not going to be like in London for Forbidden Door, so I don't think that we're going to see anything to that extent.
The interesting thing,
we could see Mark Briscoe get involved, but yeah,
true.
The only thing they've really set up outside of Briscoe is, hey, MVP saying to MJF, hey, if you win, and I hope you don't, because I like you, and if you do, Bobby Lashley's going to take your world title. And I'm like, you can't take me from Hanger to here's Lashley versus MJF. Not so soon, at least. That feels like a complete vibe shift. And I think it would kind of mess with certain things.
Yeah, I think it's way too soon to. I wouldn't be entirely against it because it's an interesting route to take, and you could always just have them continuing to feud with MJF as champion instead. But yeah, I think that it's just too early. This needs to be Hangman's signature reign as champion, and I don't think you can end it like a month into it, or just over like a month or two into it. So yeah, but it could set in motion like the fact that if MJF loses, find a way back to deal with MJF in the future. So I think it's good for their long-term story regardless.
Well, there's one other report to talk about when it comes to AEW. This is last hot tag that I've got written down at least. And that is a spoiler for Collision. So if you don't want to know about that, then by all means.
I mean, they've announced it themselves.
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. But Ace Austin is now in the AEW family, and he loses a match to Ricochet, but signs a contract afterward or whatever. So former TNA person hopping over, and I've heard good things. I haven't seen much about him, but seems like a positive.
It's a tremendous signing. This is the moves that this company should be making. You should have your eyes on the future in AEW. You should be signing young talent who want to wrestle where the best wrestle. And I love it. I want him paired with the Bang Bang Gang. Go check out the Forbidden Door mock draft stuff that we did yesterday. I said I wanted him with Jay White, and you can kind of view that now.
I was quite surprised with the signing because it just seems to come out a little bit out of nowhere. I'm been impressed with the work that I have seen of Ace Austin, so I think it could be a good signing. You know, essentially it's just there to probably realistically just flesh out the tag team division or flesh out your lower card a little bit with some good talent. I think he's going to get joined up with the Bang Bang Gang, should I say? Not the clan, obviously that'd be weird. But I think that yeah.
Well, them being the BBC would. Well, I guess there was already a BBC in the AEW.
Well, it was BCC.
Oh, that's right, it was BCC. So you could do BBC.
Yeah, but I think that I think that it fits quite well. I think Austin, from what I've seen, his character would meld quite well with the Guns and Juice Robinson. He's seemingly getting involved with GOA and Ricochet already, so they have been doing some stuff with Bang Bang Gang. So I think that so I think that's quite a natural fit.
1 + 1 does equal 2, and I like that. Like
yeah, they make it pretty obvious. Like there's no real hiding away from it. Other than that, I think he'll sit quite nicely in the like low mid card areas. Could be built up over time if he does get naturally over, but you know, you'll position him in a similar way to like a Hologram or a Beast Mortos, that kind of thing, which is, you know, someone who'll have good matches but not necessarily like win any big ones or be pushed towards the top. But you need people in and around that are decent hands to help put your top stars over. So yeah, from that perspective, it's a good signing.
Alrighty, everyone. Well, you know the deal. Drop your comments below. Tell us what you think about all these things we talked about. If we forgot about some kind of a topic, leave that in the comments below as well, and we'll try to respond or something. And also keep in mind that the pay-per-views that are happening, the TNA Emergence thing and the AAA Mania, Triplemania, AAA Mania, there you go. That's the easiest way of doing it. I'm not going to be doing a post show for those, but I will have coverage on the Ring Report and eWrestling News for those. So if you're interested in finding out the results, that's where you can find them. If you want to find out everything else that I've got going on, just go to amangotree.com and you'll find a link list of a whole bunch of different things. Fanboys Anonymous related, Smark related, and just Tony Manga related. So follow me on those, and follow Robin Callum too.
Follow me everywhere at Dude Felice. Check out my work on Fightful. Check out my work. Just Fightful. Check me out on social media. Like I mentioned at the end of yesterday's video, I am getting a gimbal. I am going to try doing the wrestling TikTok thing. See how it goes. But yeah, I always appreciate any support.
You can follow me on Twitter and Blue Sky with Meister14. Check out the Power Rankings every Saturday over on Smark at the moment. The WWE superstars based on their previous week's performances, which will definitely count a lot of the SummerSlam stuff. SummerSlam was the previous week. I'm lost track of all time. Like it's all gone. So
we will lost track of that.
It'll count stuff. Yeah, it'll count. You'll see some stuff based on what they did recently. And then you can also follow the Fantasy League, also at wwefantasyleague.com, where you see other based on people's results, what points they've scored. So check that out, see how our different rosters are doing, who's picking up what points as we head towards Clash in Paris. So yeah, follow all that stuff along there.
Okay, everyone, make sure you go back and check out that Forbidden Door Ultimate Matchmaker Super Mega card, whatever the hell we ended up calling that. I don't remember if we had like a specific name, but check that out. And of course, stay tuned for another round of the hot tags next week. I don't remember what our main event is going to be, but it's pay-per-view predictions probably, because it's just like every other week at this point. But it's Forbidden Door. What am I? Forbidden Door and Heatwave. Yeah, so Forbidden Door and Heatwave pay-per-view predictions, and then the week after that's Clash in Paris predictions. So
let's go, baby.
Pay-per-view, over and over again. PLE, just all the plays. So if you enjoy all the play, then stay tuned for those things. But adios for now. This has been another Smark Out moment. We're being counted out. Play.